Session today is Unit 1, where we're going to learn what managerial economics is and the features embedded in there. So managerial economics is application of economic theories and tools that will guide us in making managerial decisions and to solve practical business problems. So the main objective of managerial economics is to make better decisions by applying two key theories of economics. Those are microeconomics and macroeconomics. The microeconomics look at the nature and behavior of mankind. It looks at how households and firms optimize their resources to obtain maximum gain. Microeconomics integrates real life practices. It looks at decision and forward-looking principles and looks at companies and how they solve these day-to-day problems. So it integrates applied economics, which is an interdisciplinary course which combines economics, finance, and statistics. So in this very course, you're going to find questions to do with economics, questions to do with finance, and statistics. So it has a predictive nature. It will help in forecasting trends. And the scope of economics will look at demand analysis. We're going to look at demand and supply. We will look at forecasting, production, analysis, decision, policies, and profit management. So we're going to start with our first nature in economics, which is demand analysis. So what is involved in demand analysis? So we're going to look at the law of demand. The law of demand. So what you wear, what you demand, what you order, everything falls under the laws of demand. So what is demand? Demand, what is demand? Demand is what? The ability and the willingness to uh, purchase a particular good or service within a specified period of time. So demand is important because it helps us identify the things that we need with respect to our abilities. So in economics, demand is the quantity of a good or service that consumers are willing and able to buy at various what? Prices during a given time period. So the elements that quantify demand are: number one, a person must be willing to buy. Number two, the person must have the ability to buy. Three, it must be within a specific period of time. And four, the price demanded must be linked to the demand. So demand is downsloping. It looks like this. And the demand function is given by P is equal to A minus BQ. So we have our price here and our quantity there. So this is how our demand function looks like. So the slope of demand is negative because of the inverse relationship. So according to the law of demand, if the price goes up from P1 to P2, you expect demand to go down from Q1 to Q2. This is an inverse relationship for any normal good. This is an inverse relationship. So we expect a price increase to be accompanied by a decrease in quantity demanded. That is how the law of demand stipulates. So there are factors that will affect your demand. So what are some of the factors that affect your demand? Price of that particular good, price of a substitute good, price of a complementary good, your income, your advertising expenditure, your expectations, your taste, the weather, the natural population. What other factors do you think will affect your demand? What you buy, what you own. Okay, so and the type of good. Now, the law of demand has assumptions that the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded, except that these assumptions will follow the following prerequisites for them to work. Number one, the assumption is that the consumer income must remain the same. Secondly, the prices of related goods must be unchanged. And also the tastes and preferences must be stable. There should be no change in population, no expectations in future. So these, in short, are the factors that affect the change in demand: the income, the price of related goods, be it substitutes or complementary goods, the tastes, the preferences, population, expectations. So these are some of the factors that will affect one's demand for particular goods. Now we have different types of goods. We have what we call normal goods, what we call inferior goods, what we call substitute goods. So according to our law, we say the law of demand simply states that for any good, a, an increase in price will result in a decrease in quantity demanded. But this law is violated by a certain nature of goods. These goods do not follow this law. We have goods like Veblen goods, we have goods like precious goods, we have goods like speculative goods, because these ones, they defy the law. A given good is an inferior good where the demand will increase when the price increases. Okay, ideally, the price must decrease, the demand must decrease when price what? Increases. But there are a few goods whose um, uh, to whom this law does not apply. So there are goods like given goods, like maize, we still buy them. Okay? Even in the under extreme poverty, we still buy maize. Veblen goods, these are luxurious goods where the high price makes people desire them. They want to be the only ones, the designer clothes. So the more expensive, the more a certain class of people will demand for them. So this is another violation of the law of demand. We also have speculative goods. People buy more if prices are expected to what? To go up. So like shares, real estate, people buy more of these ones when prices are expected to go up. So these are the only goods that will defy the law of demand. So quick, can you remember what are some of the factors that will affect what? Demand? What are some of the determinants of demand? We talked about what? Number one?
We talked about prices and substitute goods.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, please. Income,
Yes,
expectations, taste, and preference.
correct. Okay. Price of that particular good, talk about the income of the consumer, price of related goods, be it substitutes or complements, the tastes and preferences, expectations, and the number of what? Customers, the population. So these are some of the factors that we talked about that will affect one's demand. And we talked about the types of goods that we have. What types of goods have we talked about? They're based on our demand. So we have uh, what we call normal goods. They're based on income. They're what we call substitute goods. They're what we call um, so the types of goods are based on demand. So under income, we have two types of goods. We have the normal goods. These are goods whose demand will increase with income. So if your elasticity of income is a positive, we call this a what? a normal good. So normal goods are goods which increase as your income goes up. Okay? We also have inferior goods. These are goods which you demand less of as your income goes up. So your elasticity of income is negative. Not because you can't afford them, you can afford what? Better. So examples of inferior goods are goods like black and white TV, thrifted clothes. The demand will decrease when the income goes up because we are now going to be able to afford better. So with cross demand, we have two types of goods that we need to know. So we have substitute goods, we have complementary goods. So substitute goods, we have goods like Coke and Pepsi. These are goods with positive cross price elasticity. So if your cross price elasticity is what? Is positive, it means those are substitute goods. Substitute goods have the same usage. They compete against each other. If one becomes expensive, you go for the other. All right? So these are called substitute goods. Complementary goods are goods which move hand in hand. So we have goods like tea and sugar. We have goods like car and fuel. So these are goods that move hand in hand. All right? So their elasticity, which is cross price elasticity, is always a negative to show that these are complementary goods. They complement each other. So these are the types of goods that we have. So we also have what we call a demand schedule. A demand schedule is simply a table that shows the quantities of a good demanded at different price levels. So we call that a demand schedule. The demand schedule looks something like this. So you're able to calculate or draw a demand curve using a demand schedule. So you can plot, for instance, if you have a price which is 30, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Here we have 100, 200, 300, 400. So you can now plot this schedule. So 50 against 200. So you go to 50 against 200, you put your there. 40 against 300, 40 against 300, you put there. 30 against 400, 30 against 400, there. And you can plot your curve. It looks something like that. So this is called a demand schedule. A demand schedule. All right. So demand schedule is a table showing the quantities of a good demanded at the different price levels. That is what we call a demand schedule. Then also have a demand curve is what you draw. It's a graphic representation of the demand schedule. It is downsloping. It is convex to the origin. In most cases, it shows an inverse relationship. Now let's look at movements that move on the curves. There are movements that we call movements along the curve and shifts of the demand curve. So if there is a price increase, for instance, in our schedule and our curve, if the price increase from 40 to 50, 40 to 50, what happens to the quantity demanded? So prices move from 40 to 50, the one demanded will decrease from 300 to 200. So this is a movement along a schedule. So to move from point A to point B. So this movement is called the movement along the demand schedule. So there are movements that will also cause shifts in the demand schedules. The shifts will come about when other factors besides price will affect your demand. So price, among the factors that affect, is the only one that causes a movement along the demand schedule. But the other factors like income will cause a A shift is simply a movement of this entire demand schedule, either inward or outward. So if it shifts outwards there, meaning your income has increased, it shifts inwards there, it means your income has decreased. So this shift is the movement of the entire demand schedule. So the movement along is caused by the price. The shift rightwards, it's an increase in demand, meaning you have higher income, and leftwards, the decrease in demand, meaning you have a decrease in what? Population or decrease in income. All right. So what have we said? That there are two movements that we have. We have movements along the demand schedule and movements that will cause a shift of the demand schedule. All right. So the movements along the demand schedule will be due to price falls or price increases. So when the price falls, the demand will increase. When the price increases, the demand will decrease. And we also have movements that will cause a shift to the right or to the left. So to the right means there's an increase in demand, either due to higher income or higher population or higher other factors. And the shift leftward will mean a decrease in demand, meaning there's a decrease in population, decrease in income, or change in tastes. So what causes price increases? There's a movement. This movement of price increases will have a movement upward. And if you have the increase in price, in income, it will cause a shift where to the right. The opposite is what happens. So you need to understand those graphical denotations. Now, before I look at elasticity of demand, perhaps we could now learn how to even talk about sketching demand functions. So if you have a demand function which is given by 10, 100 minus 2q. So how do we sketch these curves? You put the letters on one side, P plus 2q is equal to what? 100. So there are invisible numbers here. There's invisible 1. So to cut the p-axis 1 into 100, we have 100 there. To cut the q-axis 2 into 100, it's 50 there. So we're going to do what? We're going to plot the equation. So on the p, it will cut at 100. So 100 will be here. The q, it will cut at what? 50. So it will cut 50 here. So this is our demand curve that will follow this equation. So P is equal to 100 minus 2Q. This is called our inverse demand because our P is subject to formula. So you can also have a direct demand function. Sometimes Q is equal to what? 20 minus 4P. The principle is the same. You put the letters on one side. So on this one comes side, it will be Q plus 4P is equal to what? 20. So what intercepts are there that we're going to have? So there's a number 1 which is invisible there. So 1 into 20 is 20. 4 is visible into 20. It is what? 5. So we're going to cut the P at 5 and the Q at what? 20. Right. So regardless of how the curve is, we should have in mind that our demand curve is always downsloping. Right. We also have the laws that talk about supply curve. So the laws that talk about supply in our supply curve. What is supply? Supply is the ability and the willingness for our suppliers to do what? To supply goods and services. So their willingness that producers or suppliers are willing to supply at a lower price, and they should be willing to supply. So characteristics of supply is that it has a direct relationship. The higher the price, the more willing suppliers are willing to do what? To supply more. So the supply curve is upsloping. So it looks like this. So the law of supply simply states, as I quote, all other things or factors being held equal, we use the Latin term ceteris paribus. Simply says an increase in the price of a good or service will lead to an increase in the quantity supplied, and a decrease in price will lead to decrease in quantity supplied. So the supply curve looks something like this. So ES is equal to A plus BQ. So in simpler terms, a higher price from P1 to P2 will result in a higher quantity uh, supplied. So P1 to P2 will cause an increase in our supply from Q1 to Q2. So these are the laws. So supply curve is upsloping. So these two, they meet at a point called equilibrium. When the price and the price demanded and the when demand is equal to supply in short, these two will come up with what we call our equilibrium. We call what we have as our equilibrium. So if our demand function was, for instance, the one we had P is equal to 100 minus what? 2Q. And our supply was P is equal to what? 10 plus 3Q. So the one that has a plus is supply, we know. The one that has a minus is what? Is our demand. So what happens? Demand is equal to supply at equilibrium. What is our demand? 100 minus 2Q. What is our supply? 10 plus 3Q. So we get these two. So when we get these two, we're going to have the letters on one side. So 100 minus 10 is 90. Then 3Q plus 2Q. What do we have? We have 5. So we have 90 should be equal to 5Q. So to find our Q, we divide both sides by 5. So I divide both sides by 5. Our Q equilibrium will be what? 18. So Q will be 18. And we also put the Q in the price function here. So we're going to have 10 plus 3Q. So where there's Q, we're going to put 18. So our price therefore will be 64. 64. So the equilibrium price is what? 64. The equilibrium quantity is 18. But what are the intercepts? The cutting point for the demand function. We said to illustrate this, we said you need to put the letters on one side. So we have what? P is equal to 100 minus 2Q. So we'll put the letters on one side. So this would be P plus 2Q is equal to 100. So here we are going to find the intercepts where to cut the p-axis. So there's an invisible one there. 1 into 100, 100. 2 into 100 is 50. So on this same sketch, we're going to have our 100 with the demand function to cut here on the p-axis. So this is a p-axis, and this is our q-axis. So here to cut at 50. We do the same for the price of the supply. So P is equal to 10 plus 3Q. So when this one goes aside, it will be P minus 3Q is equal to what? 10. So there's an invisible one there. So 1 into 10, it will cut the p-axis at 10. Negative 3 into 10, please don't forget the sign. It will be negative what? 3.33. So the 10 will be here, the negative 3.33 somewhere there. So quantity will never take the negative side, just for illustration's purposes, so that you understand that it's coming from here. So this is what we call the equilibrium point. Our equilibrium is simply a point at which demand is equal to our supply. Demand is equal to supply. Then we have two areas here, area A and area B. Area A and area B. Area A is called our consumer surplus. Area B is called our producer surplus. So sometimes you'll be asked to calculate the consumer surplus and producer surplus. So any questions at this point before I proceed? Are we understanding? Any questions so far? So we need to practice. I'll give you only 4 questions based on what we have learned today. 4 questions based on what we have learned today. So I'll just end at calculating the surpluses. So having drawn this, we're just going to extract the triangle A and triangle B. According to our grade 12, the area of the triangle is given by half base times height. So from 64 to 100, the distance is what? 36. Okay. And from 0 to 18, the distance is 18. And from 64 to 10, the distance is what? 54. And here we have 18 likewise. So from our grade 12, our area of a triangle is half BH. So area A is the area below the demand function, and area B is the area right above the supply function. So when you add these two areas, what we get is called the total surplus. So I just want us to concentrate on these areas. So what is our consumer surplus? Half BH. So our base in this case is 18. And our height is 36. So you get the answer here. Similarly, here, half BH. Our base is what? 18. And our height is what? 54. What are we getting when we compute those two?
Is it 324 for A?
Mhm.
And for B, 486.
186, okay. Then what becomes the equilibrium? The total surplus. 400 and what? 86. So 810 will be what?
Equilibrium
The total surplus. So
or
consumer
total
surplus
surplus.
is area A, producer surplus is area B, and the total surplus is what? The sum total.
Okay.
So now let's look at how the exam question would come. So we look at question number 3. All right. So consider the following in a perfect competitive market. Area A is 25 minus 3P, and the quantity supply is 10 plus 2P. So find the equilibrium. Then uh, you can do the floor price later on. So let's do this together, but this will be your homework. Just going to guide so that I see how you're going to do it. All right, so we're given a scenario where the demand function and the supply function are given. So remind me, how do we find equilibrium? Equilibrium occurs when quantity demanded is equal to what? Quantity supplied.
Supply.
What is our quantity demanded? 25 minus what?
3P.
3P. And what is our quantity supplied? 10.
10 plus 2P.
Okay, good. So how do you do? You put the like terms together. It's okay. The 10 will come this side, and the 3P will go there to be a positive. So what is 10 minus 25 minus 10? It's 15. What is 3p plus 2p? It's 5p, right? So when divide both sides by 5, what becomes our p? P is equal to 3, right? So 5 into 15, we get a 3. Then to find our q, you can use any of these. You still get the same answer. So q is equal to what? 10 plus 2p. The supply is easier because the addition is straightforward. So 10 plus 6 is equal to 16. Even if you use the upper one there, 25 minus 3p. So 25 minus 3p. Where there's p, we put what? 3. So 25 minus 9, it is still 16. Okay. So our equilibrium price is what? Is 3. Our equilibrium quantity is what? 16. And how do we sketch these ones? You put the letters on one side. So for this one, although you're not taught to sketch, they just said algebraically, not graphically, and just teaching you how to do that. So you're going to have Q plus 3P is equal to what? 25. So there's an invisible one there. Are you together? Are we together? So the class is being recorded, so afterwards you will go through. So 1 into 25, it will cut the Q at what? 25. Then our 3 into 25, it will cut the P at what? 8.33. Similarly here, we put the letters on one side. Q minus 2P is equal to 10. So there's an invisible one there. 1 into 10, it will cut the Q at what? 10. Negative 2 into 10 to cut the P at what? Negative 5. So we have price and quantity. So for the demand, it's no problem. It will cut here at 8.33. Then at quantity, it will go to 25. Then our supply, it will cut the price at negative 5 here, negative 5, and our quantity, it will cut it at what? 10. So it looks a little bit weird, but I need to follow those rules. So what was our equilibrium price? Equilibrium price was 3. So I put your 3 here. What was our equilibrium quantity? 16. 16 there. So this is area A, this is area B. So what is the consumer surplus? You can withdraw the two segments. The distance from 8.33 to 3 is what? 5.33. The distance from 0 here to 16 is 16. We do the same for area B, which is a producer surplus. The 16 is obviously the same, they're sharing the same border from 16 to 0. From 3 to 0, it is 3. From 0 to 5, it is what? 5. So if you're going to get the difference, 3 minus negative 5 is what? Positive 8. So most people, they have a method, they subtract 5 minus 3, they put 2. It can't be 2. From here to here is 3. From here to here is 5. The total is what? The total is 8. Then you find your consumer surplus and producer surplus using the area half base times height. So you find the area for A and area for B, and you total them up, get the total surplus. So this is our consumer surplus, this is our total surplus, and this is our producer surplus. When you add them, you get total surplus. So we end our lecture today. Send you homework based on what has been done today. Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day.
Thank you.
I'll say so, yeah.